College basketball, the next big step the legends of the game had to climb. A stage that separates the men from the boys, with their dramatic stories of exhilarating highs and crushing lows. This is Tom Chambers' story. After a stellar All-American season at Fairview High in Boulder, Colorado, hotly recruited Tom Chambers would make the decision to sign with the University of Utah. Chambers would leave Colorado to return home to his native Utah, joining a storied basketball program playing in one of the finest arenas in all of college basketball. Personally recruited by head coach Jerry Pimm, Chambers' signing would be a key building block for the future of the Utes program. Choosing one of the most stunning campuses in the nation, Chambers would experience an exciting introduction to college life as a big-time athlete and cited some other reasons for choosing Utah.
Utah, the girls are beautiful. You couldn't ask for any better girls. Per capita, there's many major league girls here in Salt Lake City.
With his stellar high school basketball resume, Chambers would be thrusted into the biggest challenge of his life versus a Soviet national team in his very first game as a Ute. Matching up against the Soviets' hulking 7'3" center Vladimir Tkachenko, Chambers would be in for the toughest assignment of his young career, saying, "I was really scared. I didn't know what to do at first when I went in. That guy was really big." Chambers would score 17 points and grab 9 rebounds versus Tkachenko and prove that he could compete against world-class players. Chambers would contribute off the bench his freshman season, being the team's 5th leading scorer, backing up senior star forward Jeff Judkins and Judkins' 5-star recruit cousin Danny Vranes. The Utes would enjoy a winning season and finish with a 12-2 Western Athletic Conference record, crushing opponents along the way and ranking number 14 in the final AP poll. In the 1978 NCAAs, the Utes would reach the Sweet 16, where they would face off against Notre Dame, a team featuring future NBA stars Bill Laimbeer, Kelly Tripucka, Orlando Woolridge, and Bill Hanzlik. The Utes would suffer a crushing loss, but with Chambers and Vranes returning, the future was looking bright. Moving into a starting role, Chambers would have a breakout sophomore season, winning MVP of the Utah Classic Tournament and moving up to number 2 on the team in both scoring and rebounding. The Utes would also rack up the wins and begin positioning themselves in the national rankings. With the additional playing time, Chambers would enjoy more opportunities to expand his offensive game and become a force on the boards. Chambers would join an elite club of Utes with a rare 20-20 game, with a monster 28-point, 20-rebound effort in a win versus Hofstra. The Utes would achieve another winning season and advance to the NCAA tournament, but suffer a tough overtime loss in the first round. In the summer of '79, Chambers would have the honor to play for Team USA in Argentina at the FIBA Intercontinental Cup, teaming with DePaul's Mark Aguirre and Maryland's Buck Williams, among other future NBA players. They would go 4-1 in competition, and Chambers would lead Team USA in rebounding. Being on a major D1 college team affords opportunities for players to travel and experience life on the road. Utah traveled all around the West, and especially look forward each year to their away game at Hawaii and enjoy some time at the beach before the game. In his junior year, Chambers would blossom into the team's leading scorer and rebounder, kick-starting Pimm's fast break offense while complementing athletic star teammate Danny Vranes in the front court. Behind Chambers and Vranes, the Utes would stay in the national rankings, with Chambers now becoming the first option on offense. The Utes would prepare for their biggest game of the season, which would be a home game versus Darrel Griffith in Louisville. Behind a balanced offense and with key baskets by Chambers, the Utes would prove themselves against the nation's best college team, winning a close game in front of ecstatic fans. This would turn out to be the highlight of the season, and the Utes would enjoy celebrating this hard-fought victory. Louisville's coach Denny Crum would praise Chambers and foresee an outstanding season ahead. In 1980, both Chambers and Vranes would be invited to try out for the U.S. Olympic team to play in the Summer Games in Moscow. Chambers would be one of the final cuts, but Vranes would make the team, which sadly would never play at the U.S. boycotted 1980 Olympics. The Olympic team tryout showcased Chambers' abilities against the best collegiate players, and he began to draw attention from NBA executives who prophetically foresaw a promising NBA career ahead. Now in his senior season, Chambers would again be the Utes' leading scorer and rebounder, and the Utes would be the team to beat. The Utes would get off to a hot start to the season, but their first real test would be a rematch at defending NCAA champion Louisville. Behind the highlight reel plays of Chambers and Vranes, the Utes would dominate the game and crush Louisville 78-59. Back home in Utah, the Utes would get another big win over their arch-rival BYU at home, ending their winning streak and helping to propel the Utes up the national rankings. As the season wore on, the outstanding play and leadership of Chambers would not go unnoticed. With a lineup featuring star teammate Danny Vranes along with Karl Bankowski and emerging point guard Pace Manion, the Utes would be featured in Sports Illustrated as one of the nation's top college teams. The Utes would continue gunning down opponents and dominate the Western Athletic Conference, on their way to becoming conference champions. Heading into the second round of the NCAAs, the Utes would face Northeastern and come away with a convincing win, setting themselves up for a Sweet 16 game at home against North Carolina. With comparable lineups, both teams' coaches saw their Sweet 16 matchup as being even and setting the stage for an epic clash.
A 6'10 senior from Boulder, Colorado, Tom Chambers. Low takes it back down to Chambers. His shot is good. His left-hand hook comes out. Rebound. Chambers of Utah.
Featured matchup of the game would be Chambers versus James Worthy, giving a preview of their future decade-long rivalry in the NBA. The game would be close in the first half, with the Utes down by just 2 points heading into the break. Led by Worthy, the Tar Heels would crack open the game in the second half and go on to defeat Utah by 5 points and ending the Utes' spectacular season. And Coach Pimm would call this the toughest loss of his coaching career. Chambers and Vranes would play their final games as collegians in the Pizza Hut and NACB College All-Star Games, hoping to impress the pro scouts and prepare themselves for the upcoming NBA draft. And both players would speak about their preparation for the pros at the end of the season.
Led by Chambers and Vranes, two players who are destined to play in the NBA. We asked them if playing 4 years at Utah prepared them for the pros.
I sure do. Coach Pimm is really noted highly for being a good person to prepare a person for the pro ranks. Pro people really look highly on Coach Pimm because he always plays the man-to-man defense. He really makes sure everybody plays a hard defense and does the things. He has the motion offense and just prepares a person for what the pro people need.
San Diego selects 6'11", 240 pounds, Tom Chambers of Utah.
Chambers would go on to have a stellar NBA career, filled with iconic moments and rare achievements during his 16-year-long professional career. But his Utes jersey number still remains conspicuously absent from the rafters of Huntsman Center. Chambers' highly accomplished career as a Ute alone warrants recognition, and he is already a member of the state of Utah's Sports Hall of Fame. In fact, of the 29 Utes who have went on to play in the NBA, Chambers has more All-Star and All-NBA selections than all of the other players combined. And his inclusion with the Utes greats from the last 40 years would be fitting for the Utes' most successful basketball player ever.